Hey guys, this is Kunal from KTriton.com. I'm back with another review for y'all. This time I am reviewing LA scoring strings, or as it's affectionately known, LAS. So LA scoring strings, for those of you that don't know, is a string sample library. It is made by Audiobro. It has a few different versions, which I'll get to in a second. It runs on Contact 4, so if you don't have it, you'll need it. I don't know if it comes with a free version. I don't remember seeing anything about it, so my guess is that you'd have to buy Contact 4 if you didn't already have it. LA Scoring Strings comes in a few different versions. The first version is obviously the full version. At the time of this review, it's about $1,000. It has two other versions. The second version is First Chair Library, which only has the first chair of each instrument. So we're talking violas, violins, cellos, basses. It only has the first chair. The third version, which is the version that I have, is Last Light, which has 12 players in each instrument category. So you're talking about 12 bass players, 12 cello players, 12 viola players, 12 violins 1, 12 violins 2. So that's what I have, that's what I'm reviewing here. LA Scoring Strings definitely has a bunch of pros. It also has a few cons for me. It's kind of an interesting product to review. But in recent years, it's kind of become a staple of, kind of scoring industries like film, television, and video games. So I definitely think it's something that you should be looking at if you are in any of those industries, and you want to, you're in the market for a string library, I guess. So let's just start with the cons, and then I'll get to the pros, and I'll give you my thoughts. So the first big con that I see is that there's no key switching. There are plenty of string libraries and orchestra libraries that utilize key switching. I personally really like the Contact native samples here for that purpose. But what is key switching? So for those that are not familiar, key switching is a tool whereby you can change different attributes on an instrument by hitting keys that are out of the range of the instrument. So, for example, a violin only has a certain pitch range. Outside of those, some companies include keys to switch between articulations. So by hitting a key, you switch to pizzicato, and then another key switches to legato, staccato, spiccato, all these different articulations. In LAS, there is no key switching, and so everything is separate here. You can kind of see, as I show you, you have different categories: basses, cellos, a full ensemble, violas, violins, violins 2, where you're switching. Look at all these different articulations. You're switching articulations as you need it. So in the case of this project that I'm showing you, I went from having 5 tracks for my strings with the key switches on them. I went from having 5 tracks to, in this case, 25 tracks. As you can see, so it just goes on and on. And if you wanted to get every single articulation, it'd be so many tracks. I can't even, I don't even know how many articulations there are, but there's a ton. So I'm not crazy about that. My workload changes 5-fold in this one example here. So I didn't really like that. The next thing that I don't like is this overlap issue. So when you're working with legato or tremolo articulations, you can't have one note overlap the next note like this. Oops, like this. You can't do it, because what'll happen is it just won't play this note. And in a lot of instances, it'll just stop playing the note completely. So that is an issue. Another issue is that you have to actually move the note quite a bit to get on the beat. So let me show you an example here. So for example, these two notes actually start over here on measures 31 and 33. But I've had to pull the note out all this way to get those notes to hit on time. And I've noticed that legato has kind of different values of how far you need to pull it out from staccato, from pizzicato. They all kind of have their own unique preverbs that are built into the patch. And so this is super annoying. It's something that a lot of string libraries suffer from, that when you hit a note, the note doesn't start immediately. There's some lag time in there to get the preverb and the front end of the note. So I really wish somebody would create a solution for this, and I hope Audiobro thinks of this when they're creating their next VST. So those are my biggest cons. You can read my full review. I'll have a link to it in the description. So you can read my other thoughts on this product as well, other cons, things like that. You actually have this really neat feature called auto arrange, you see. And what it does is it restricts the polyphony on the note so that you only hit one note at a time. And so your string tracks now become this voicing project where you're learning to work with 4 or 5 strings to bring your piece to life. And what it does is it really fills in the gaps especially for legato and tremolo, sordino. So it sounds great. A byproduct of this is the glissando mechanic, which sounds gorgeous. Okay, so this is what the glissandi sound like. So very rich, very full sounding. I love it. I've been using the glissando feature like crazy in my compositions, partly because as VST users, we've all kind of been starved for a feature like this in a string library. So it's really great. I love that feature. Last also comes with a really cool humanization feature. So let me show you. Here we go, auto rhythm tool, and you can kind of adjust how you want this to go. These are, like, so you can adjust that, and the humanization, how many random accents you want, how fuzzy you want the humanization. Very cool features to have that add a lot to the character of the strings. And finally, the thing just sounds gorgeous. It sounds amazing. I've been very happy with it. It has this very rich and unique character to the strings. They've captured it perfectly, in my opinion. The downside to this, of course, is that you can always recognize when somebody else is using that string library, but to the average audience member, I don't think it'll really make a big difference. So it sounds gorgeous, and I'm going to show you this piece that I wrote. I wrote it for Songs for the Cure. The piece is called Lapis Lazuli. I'm going to have a link to it on in just a minute that you can click on and get to the full track. I'll only show you a piece of it. But final words before we get to the track is that I love it. It's not for everybody, though. If you are not really comfortable with orchestration, putting in a lot of time into fine-tuning MIDI data, perhaps, this is probably not the library for you. You probably want to look at an East-West library, Hallian, something else. But if you are an orchestrator or an arranger, you work with orchestral instruments very regularly, or you're very adept at MIDI programming and manipulation, this is a great solution, and it sounds fantastic, like I said. If it's any indication, I'm probably going to upgrade to the full version of Last very soon. So that's my take on it. Let me show you this piece really quickly. Thanks again for watching. Leave any comments that you have below, and peace out.